The universe buries strange jewels deep within us all and then stands back to see if we can find them. And the courage to go on the hunt for those jewels is what separates a mundane existence from a more enchanting one. It's always good to remember that it's not always a bad thing, that every single day isn't a good day. Some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad. And the reason why, when the days are good, you're supposed to relish in it and enjoy it is because of the contrast, right? The not so good days make the good days even better. Like, you see the blessing that it actually is, because how effing boring would it be if all your days were the same anyway, you know? Yeah. I know we all want good days, but it is a good reminder. You should cherish the good, light, happy days, as well as the mundane days, the days where it seems like nothing exciting is happening. Yeah.
What? You can't catch on to it. How? That side that you just did.
No, I'm thinking of how to start. Are you sure it's not your birthday? You look good, you look nice.
Thank you. You look nice. No, don't turn that in.
Oh. Happy birthday. I told you.
I need some water.
It wasn't that. Never above you. Never
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's another example of someone that has.
But anytime it comes in, you know that you just done it.
That's another example.
YK. You know you know.
Yeah, you know it's
That's it. And if you don't know, you're out of the game.
Never above you.
Relax.
Never below you. Always beside you. Cheers.
Things have been feeling so hectic lately, and I've been so busy. But I think one of the things that you don't anticipate when you're busy doing the things that you enjoy is because you're so good at what you're doing and you're kind of enjoying it, it can be very difficult to make time for rest. Even when being busy is a good thing, like, say, the answer to a blessing, you still have to consciously make time for rest. And something that I'm learning about myself is that is not as easy as I've always thought it to be. I assumed I was always the kind of person who rested when it was necessary. But I guess when you really are enjoying what you're doing, you can get burnt out easily, even though what is burning you out is something that you love. So, yeah, there's a lot of unlearning to do there for me, and I'm trying to make more conscious efforts to take time to rest and not wait until my body gives out on me before I'm forced to rest. But it's a slow-paced journey. Here's something that I wrote in my journal a while ago. Stay open. Who knows? Lightning could strike. I love that short phrase so much. It's from a movie that I really love, Meet Joe Black. And there's a part in the movie where Anthony Hopkins' character is talking to his daughter on flight, and he's talking to her, he's giving her advice about life and passion and love, and, you know, how he really wants her to live and be alive. And that is my favorite, like, excerpt from it, from the entire thing, because it's longer, it's much longer, but it's so good. And I think about it a lot. I think about it often. I mean, I think about movies a lot, but I think about this particular like movie and that moment often. It's just the way he says it, the way the line is delivered, and it's the message in the movie in itself. And I think in the context of the movie, it may have been meant to be a little romantic, it leans romantic, but it has never really applied to me in that way. So I guess I've never seen it through that lens. I've always like more seen it towards like your approach to life. The whole thing really, but specifically when he says, I want you to get swept away out there. I want you to levitate. I want you to sing with rapture and dance like a dervish. Be deliriously happy, or at least leave yourself open to be. And he says that love is passion, it's obsession, it's someone you can't live without. I personally don't know too much about that, but it is still like a beautiful sentiment, especially when you think about it in terms of like joy, seeking joy, letting joy find you in all the different moments. And finding ways to see love in all the different forms and all the different ways that it shows up for you. I especially like the part where he says, there's no sense in living your life without it. To make the journey and not be fully embroiled in passion, well, you haven't lived at all, but you have to try. Because if you haven't tried, then you haven't lived. And there are some moments when I'm actively seeking joy in my life. On days like today, for example, it's been a slightly tiring day, but I saw that the sun was out and I'm going to go out and just, try to exist outside of all the responsibilities that I have in my mind. It makes me think about the question, what brings you joy? And I heard a response once, I don't know who said it, but the response was joy. Joy brings me joy. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I hope so. I'm currently reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she has a section that she titled Fear is Boring, and she has written one of the most compelling things that I've ever read. She says, around the age of 15, I somehow figured out that my fear had no variety to it. No depth, no substance, no texture. I noticed that my fear never changed. It never delighted. It never offered a surprise twist or an unexpected ending. My fear was a song with only one note and only one word, and that word was stop. My fear never had anything more interesting or subtle to offer than that one emphatic word, repeated at full volume on an endless loop. Stop, 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 stop. Which means that my fear always made predictably boring decisions, like a choosing your own ending book that always has the same ending, nothingness. I also realized that my fear was boring because it was identical to everyone else's fear. I figured out that everyone's song of fear has exactly the same tedious lyric. Stop, 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 stop. And the volume doesn't change from person to person. The song doesn't change because all of us humans were equipped with the same basic fear package when we were knitted in our mother's wombs. And then she goes on to say, this is my favorite part, but there's nothing particularly compelling about that fear. Do you see what I mean? You don't get any special credits for knowing how to be afraid of the unknown. Fear is a deeply ancient instinct, and it's an evolutionary vital one, but it's not especially smart. And she makes the contrast. She says, in fact, my fear was probably the only 100% mundane thing about me. I had creativity within me that was original. I had a personality within me that was original. I had dreams and perspectives and aspirations within me that were original. But my fear was not original in the least. My fear was not original in the least. I love that so much because it's true. It's really true. Fear is deeply unoriginal, and it's one thing that we all have in common is the fear of the unknown. So being afraid doesn't make you special, and living with the fear doesn't make you special. Isn't that life-changing and kind of ironic that in many ways we all want to leave our mark on this earth. We want to be remembered. We want to be made to feel special. But in some roundabout way, the thing that keeps us from expressing the things that make us special is fear. It's because we're afraid, right? But we're all afraid. So the way to actually live your life and make sure that you don't stand out is by doing the thing that makes you stand out the least. Being afraid keeps you stuck. It keeps you with the masses. The masses are afraid. We're all afraid. But living with the fear, not doing anything, not working with the fear, not working through the fear, doesn't make you special. It doesn't make you special. It makes you deeply unoriginal to let the fear stop you from doing the thing instead of working with the fear, working through the fear. I love that. That will stay with me. Just for the month of May, I've been taking account of how much I've been able to get done in my creative life. I mean, how much of the things that I actually want to do I've been doing, not in a judgmental way, not in a way to track myself in terms of productivity. I genuinely want to see how much I'm able to get done, and I'm trying to catch my thought patterns as they happen so that I can try in some way to figure out what is going through my mind before I find myself in a downward spiral. And there are two things that I think have helped to kind of interrupt, but to help me circumvent the negative feedback loops that I get into that I think lead to me not doing anything at all. And one of those things is lowering the bar. I can't say exactly where I got that from, but I think it's an accumulation of a couple of different advice that I've heard either in April leading up to May, but I'm glad to have been reminded of it. I really, really, really lowered the bar and set the expectation low for myself. So I totally reduced the number of videos that I decided I wanted to put out in May, just so that I could give myself enough time between each video. And the goal that I set for this month is actually 3. I wanted to put out just 3 videos, and I wrote down that I would be happy if I only got to put out 2. I usually aim for like 4 to 6, but clearly that hasn't been working well. So I lowered the bar. I set the expectation really, really, really low on that end, but also on the end of how perfect I wanted things to be. So I decided to reduce the gap between the vision, the exact perfect vision of the thing in my head versus the thing that I've actually created. And that I actually got from the book that I'm currently reading, about to finish, actually, Big Magic. That's the book of the month, the book of the month. Yeah, it's been really, really helpful. And I actually think it's going to be one of my go-to books. Initially, when I got it at the year it came out, I tried reading it, but I don't know, maybe I just wasn't ready for it, but I only got a chapter in. I don't know if they're chapters, but the book is split into like 6 or 7 sections. I only got through one of them, but now I'm almost done with it. And Big Magic, along with, it's a book called The Courage of Writing that I love. I'm actually going to find it for you and show it to you. Okay, so it's not the courage of writing, it's the courage to write. And it's very well used. I've had this for years. But the reason why I love it so much is because at the time when I actually picked it up, I didn't have any dreams of being a writer. I wasn't trying to write. I just needed something to help me with courage, I guess, like some kind of guide, you know. So I picked it up, and it has been one of the best books on creativity. I think even people who aren't writers should read it. Anyone who is on any creative journey. I'm pretty sure the author wrote to writers because he's a writer primarily, but that is also a great book. But yes, Lowering the Bar has been a saving grace. That is the thing that has helped me the most, and I wanted to share that. The second thing I've been doing is play. I have been playing and not taking the things that I'm creating too seriously and trying not to. And I've also actually not watched anybody else's, like any person who creates content that is similar to what I want to create. I have not watched any of that type of content this month. If I want to watch content or whatever, I just watch movies or shows or I read. But yeah, I have not watched any content to kind of pause any subconscious comparison that is carrying on into the editing or the creating process for my own videos. You know, So Lowering the Bar and playing have been the things that I think have resulted in me being more consistent this month. And yeah, I thought that might be helpful to someone other than me. Let me know if it's helpful to you. And I should add that Lowering the Bar applies to non-creatives as well, because I've also been applying it to a bunch of other things in my life, actually. For example, I found that I wasn't moving a lot and I wasn't getting any cardio, and getting up in the morning and trying to psych myself into doing it just wasn't working. So what I started doing as part of my cardio is something that I was already doing unintentionally, which is dancing at home. So I've been doing that and I have been tracking and I've been getting good results. Now that I'm saying it, I realize that in that way, I've combined both principles, lowering the bar and playing, because dancing is like play to me. I'm not good at it, but I don't have to be good at it because I'm not a performer. I'm doing it at home. So yeah, those are my main lessons in May. Yes, and shameless plug, but if you would like to read more about it, you can check out my Substack. I'm trying to be more consistent there, put my thoughts out in that way too, to keep practicing my writing skill. Yeah.
A primeira vez que eu te vi, menina, meu coração pulou pra boca. Na primeira vez que eu te vi, menina, meu coração pulou pra boca.
We've had about 2 days back-to-back of rain lately, and it has been really good, actually. It's like, it's not crazy cold, but it's also not hot. Everything is just perfect, really. I'm very, very grateful for days like this. And even though it's raining, it's definitely feeling more and more like summer. I'm trying colored mascara for the first time. Can you tell that this is blue? I can't see. Can you tell? I don't know. I'm going to look it up and see. Maybe there's something else that I could be doing to make the color pop more. Ooh, I bet it will go really well with matching eyeshadow, like an electric blue eyeshadow kind of, or a bluish eyeliner. I'll try that sometime middle of this week. Experiment. This is a very everyday, out and about face. There's no foundation. I just have some concealer on and some color on my cheeks, you can tell, and a little contour. I learned it from the girls on TikTok. It's a no makeup look. It's the best that I can do.
Revista, nem no TikTok ou no Instagram de artista.
All right, at this point, I have like 4 days left in the month. So I can accurately say that I've read my favorite book of the month, and this wasn't a heavy month for reading. I didn't read as much as I wanted to read, but I got some advice from someone that I follow on TikTok, and she said when it comes to reaching your goals or dealing with the guilt with not reaching your goals, big or small goals, like I'm using the example of reading, which isn't like a huge setback. But the point that she made that I found to be so helpful is how a little bit of reframing can really change the way you look at things. And she said instead of dealing with the guilt that comes from the fact that you didn't do what you were supposed to do and feeling bad about it, you should instead think about it as like, I'm not a bad person for not doing this thing, or I'm not inadequate in some way for not doing this thing. This is something that I enjoy, that I wanted to do, which, applies in this case to reading. So I shouldn't feel guilty. Instead, I should find ways to do more of what I love to do. I love to do this thing, and that's why I feel bad about it. Instead of, I want to do this thing, or I think doing more of this thing makes me a certain type of person, so I feel inadequate because I have not proven myself to be some type of person, as opposed to just feeling a little bit sad that you didn't get to do more of what you wanted to do. I think some things may have gotten lost a little bit in translation, but I think that was the gist of what she said. But so I didn't get to read as many books as I read this month, but it's not a bad thing, is what I've been telling myself. And in some way, like, I really, really believe that it's not a bad thing. But the ones that I did get to read, my favorite book of the month, this book. You see it? It's by Kayleen Bradley. It's my first time reading anything from the author. It was a book of the month pick, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be a slow-paced book, but as soon as I got started, I couldn't put it down. It was so good, so refreshing. The plot is set in the 25th century. We're a little bit into the future at this point, and it's set in England at that time, and there's a government agency called the Ministry of Time, where they've sent agents to specific points in time, specific years, and taken some people from those times and brought them to our time. And those people are, in a way, refugees, but in the book they call them expats. So those people have been brought in, and they selected those people specifically because those people, at the point where they were taken, they would have died in that time already. So bringing them into the future would not impact the time-space continuum in some way, because they already would have ceased to exist even if we didn't bring them into our time. So they saved their lives by bringing them here. And our female protagonist works for the Ministry of Time, and she's come to something called the Bridge, which are specific agents that are assigned one to one expat. So one bridge to one expat. And the bridge is supposed to essentially help the expat bridge into our new world. It's supposed to help them, like, within a year, acclimatize themselves to our real world. And there's some mystery in there. There's some sci-fi in there. There's some romance in there. There's friendship in there, in the relationships between the expats and each other, and between the bridges and each other, and between the expats and the bridges. And I just, I clearly don't want to give spoilers, but it is a good book. If you're looking for a book to read that you enjoy, The Ministry of Time is a good one. And now that I have said that, I am going to head out. I have a barbecue thing with my friends that I don't want to miss. I'm already kind of late for.
And then I'm like talking about like how I love like Rammstein and stuff, and like with the guy's face lit up. Like you say, oh my god, like they love Rammstein. Anyway, I'm talking about like all the different songs, like Rammstein is like German, like rock, like metal band.
This one? I had one time. Do I get to
Oh, that's what
watch
you
this?
mean. I actually have to get cut off. Oh, that's what you mean. Okay,
Yeah.
so that one is true.
He has had a great song.
I will bet money. Come on.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
All right.
It's a video of one of them.
Picture. One of them is video. One of them is video. Hey.